right. Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever been on here.
You know, I've always been right here.
Never been on this side. Always been on that. I've always been on that
I
side.
can't hear if my left ear. Oh, really? So I always say I have to keep everybody in the
I
right.
forgot about that.
Yeah, so it's painful. If I had to go here, I couldn't hear anybody sit next to me.
I forgot about that.
My daughter-in-law was supervisor CPS. That made me drive all the way to South Bend to do a 10-minute interview and then come back because they couldn't do it up there. Yeah.
Wow. How many hours is that?
It was all day. It's like 4 hours up and 4 hours back. Then what little time she spent with them.
And they couldn't have like
Yeah.
found
But they don't
somebody a
have
little closer?
Please.
Yeah. I'll take
Yeah, I'd take one too.
Anybody got it?
A couple more off.
Wow, I can't believe she had a meeting. If not, they could have found somebody, at least I'm in here or something.
She already covers a huge area now. They've got like 3 counties. She said she's one of those, it's a perfect job for her because she does not take it home with her at all.
That's good. Yeah, that's a tough gig. That can wear on your pretty.
No, sir. Don't bother me at all.
I should skip it. This first one.
Thank you, sir.
You think we have enough support? I don't need this.
Thank you.
You think we have enough support? I don't need this.
That's why we're here.
The sad thing is, you know who's got AP payroll experience and HR experience? She's doing all the ECA stuff now, or getting ready to. I would never mention that. Optics, I guess.
Take two. You'll have that.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome. This meeting is a meeting of the school board in public for the purpose of conducting the school corporation's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. There may be time for public participation as indicated by agenda item or as directed by the president. The meeting site is fully accessible. Any person requiring further accommodation should contact the board president at the school corporation's central office. The meeting will be electronically recorded and will be kept on file in the superintendent's administration office. A copy of the audio recording will also be available on the NLCS website. So if we could rise and uncover, and Scott, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we are actually not going to do item number 3 because we can do that in our next session. So item C, persons to address the board relative to the agenda. Is it Bernie Scherschel? Okay.
Thanks for putting me first, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm not here to discuss or debate items on your agenda. I'm here to review with you what I think the process should be for you folks to go through to make the best decision that you can possibly make. And I'm just here to try to continue to improve the school system. I was at your debate. I know there were 12 of you, or 12 questions, and a couple of you were really impressive. In any case, during that debate, to me, the major items were teacher raises, run the place like a business, the future of the superintendent works for the school board, and transparency. I think the process should be where you meet with the superintendent like monthly to discuss what the issues, concerns are, what he thinks, what you think, and go from there. Meet with the principals probably every quarter. Meet with the teachers, or at least have an opportunity to meet with the teachers every quarter. Meet with the public every quarter. And then, of course, have transparency. And, I go back to what the major issues were at that time. Teacher raises, I guess I haven't heard anything about that. And that was a big issue that night. Running the place like a business, and hopefully you'll continue to do that. Superintendent future, it sounds like that's what's on your agenda. Superintendent works for the school board. If that's true, I was in management at General Motors. And if I had to report superior, most time I had to do what I was told. Or if someone reported to me, I had to do what I was told. I know Barbara was out there. So transparency. in the last couple of weeks, I mean, if my process is anywhere close to being on track, have you met with the superintendent? Have you met with the principals? Have you met with the teachers? Transparency, what kind of communication? What's the network? I have heard nothing. And again, I have not been involved in school board meetings. I was at the debate. I'm interested to see what you folks do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Debbie Mays. Okay.
First of all, I'd like to thank the school board for giving me this opportunity to speak. And I am really concerned about what has happened to the community, all the half-truths and the lies that's being spread by the social media. I feel the school board really needs to work together to take care of the needs of our students and of our teachers. Wendy, you keep talking about being honest and transparent. It's my understanding the only reason you ran for school board to start with was because of your friend. You thought that she was not done right, and that your agenda was to make a fool out of Ty Mungle and to get rid of him. And that is really sad. The individual that's your friend, she was an excellent teacher, and the kids loved her. But what she was doing at the school was unethical, and you would have to agree with that. At the time, she was transferred from one school to another school because two people couldn't be together. But what is sad is what the kids seen, what the teachers seen, and what other school employees seen at that school. You are really causing a division in our community and tearing up our school system. I know your grandmother, or knew her, she's passed
She's
very
dead,
well.
yes.
Ada, she was a very honest and sweet lady. My mom and her were best friends all through school, and even after school, they continued to be together. I just wonder what she would really think of some of your choices. And I just wonder if you really had it to do over again, if you would possibly change. Okay, tough decisions.
You have about 30 seconds. Just
Okay, I'm almost done. Tough decisions already made will make it possible for the teachers to get their much-needed raises. Scott, you ran stating that you wanted to save money. You thought the old school board and the superintendent was spending too much money. How can you justify even trying to get another superintendent when the superintendent we have now is under contract?
You're at 3 minutes, so I'm going to have to and I'm timing everyone, not just you. You're at 3 minutes.
I'm done.
Yeah, thank you. And I would like to respond to that.
Okay.
You can go ahead and have a seat, but I'll respond. I ran for school board, as many of you know. If you want to go ahead and have a seat, Mrs. Mays, that way the next person can start coming up. I ran for school board because my son was a student here in K through 2, and he is a high ability student. I came to board meetings to talk about his needs as a high ability student not being met, and that was my impetus for running for school board. That happened in 2019. And I don't want to talk about my son's needs in public, but that is why I ran for school board. And I'm 100% sure that Ada Deckard is proud of me. So that doesn't keep me up at night at all. John Storms.
First off, I'd like to thank you guys all because the position you've all been put in is a very tough one. Much like any other position in our government, We elect people to make the best interest of what's at heart for what their job is, regardless of background, whether you're making sandwiches at Subway or whether you're a doctor. And you guys have devoted yourself to make those kind of decisions, no matter what your expertise is in that area. And I greatly appreciate and thank you for that. Now I'll go on. I know I have 3 minutes. I'm going to come pick on Tracy a little bit. I know him. You know, some of the decisions you're getting ready to make tonight are going to require a lot of expertise. Much like Tracy is in the bank lending business, his job is to make sure that his branch runs well, whether it's all the way down to the teller. The last person in the world he needs to tell him who to hire is a bank board for a teller. Over decades in our school corporation, school boards have hired family, friends, people who have never been interviewed. Not pointing any fingers at any of you, but it's happened and we've all seen it. You know, Tracy wouldn't want two guys that happen to be on a bank board hiring his tellers or hiring his loan officer. You know, the direct superior should always do so. I hope you realize your job in this, no matter what the bylaws state, you have the right to hire and fire anybody you want. True experts in their field will hire somebody who is an expert to handle each division, whether it's transportations, athletic directors, teachers, principals, and whatever. Those are your first priorities. Make sure you get an expert to handle those, because none of us can be an expert in all
Just
of those
letting you know
areas.
you're halfway.
Okay, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I want you guys to comprehend your first and foremost thing is to make sure the financial stability of this school is here, and that our students are the top priority of making sure it's taken care of. Please don't do as many boards in the past have done. Hire teachers, hire people in transportation. Your job is either approval or denial. Don't make yourself an expert you're not. Tracy, I'm like I said, I'm pointing a finger at you. You know, decisions made under emotion are usually always wrong. Personal vendettas, whatever they may be, those decisions are usually wrong. You never give somebody a loan who comes in a panic mode because their decision is not clear. They need to sit back and think and counsel with wise people who are an expert. So please look at that in every decision you're getting ready to make. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Lacey Hawkins.
Good evening. Lacey Hawkins, teacher at BNL, NLEA president, lifelong resident of Lawrence County. I have concerns about the current plan being proposed tonight for several reasons, but mostly because they have direct impact on teachers. I have expressed that I believe these changes are being made too fast, which is going to create instability and chaos. The board assures me that this decision was not fast, but I think that comes down to interpretation. For me, I look at the fact that this board has existed with its current members for 8 days, or 6 2.5 days. And in those 8 days, we are making major personnel and leadership decisions. We have told the current leadership that we want them out and put together an interim team to replace them. I know the board policy is not to answer questions in this setting, but I wonder if have the candidates that are being recommended tonight been interviewed by the full board about their new positions? Or was there not time? Because these decisions seem to be being made quickly, it has caused already considerable disruption. As union president, I have several personnel issues that I've been working with the current admin team to resolve, but now without a superintendent who was in the process of resolution to complete them, those issues remain unresolved. I worry about the plans that we had for contract negotiation. This year during the reopener, to speak to salary increases, we worked with the current leadership to raise teacher salaries an average of $4,253.88 per person, particularly focusing on the teachers who had been left behind during salary freezes or leapfrogged by new hires above their steps. Bargaining rules prohibit bargaining outside of the contract year, but we made informal plans for next year, which is a full bargaining year, to address salaries across the board, particularly for our teachers at the top of the scale who did not see gains in the reopener. We had plans to fix issues and to continue growing salaries, and now we do not, and that discourages me. Board members have told me that removing the current leadership will be less disruptive than leaving them in place. I struggle with that. I'm not sure the community is aware of the consequences of this plan. I think there's a contingent here tonight to cheer the removal of the current superintendent. I'm not here for the current superintendent. I'm here for our teachers, myself included. The current plan will, in a best-case scenario, give North Lawrence 4 superintendents in the next 6 months. Dr. Mungle, the temporary superintendent, the interim superintendent, and then the highly qualified, experienced candidate that the board has yet to find. Board members have stated that there are many qualified candidates.
You have 10 seconds. Just sorry.
Of this, I have no doubt. However, I have serious concerns how many of those highly qualified candidates wish to take this position. I have more than 3 minutes worth of saying, so I'm going to give you a copy of this.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll make sure everybody looks at it. Logan Phelps.
Good evening. I want to start off with this first piece of paper here. So I heard some of you, when you were running for school board or during school board meetings, come up here and say we needed transparency, as it was spoke to earlier. Well, one of the problems that was stated at this same podium was not knowing what's really going on. The other night I shared with one of you up here my frustration with an open document like this, because there's no mentions of candidates, and then we're asked to be a person to address the board, not knowing exactly who we're addressing. Originally, I'm from Kentucky. Don't hold that against me. But in Kentucky, we have a law against nepotism. And I kind of have the feeling, if rumors are true from what I hear, that there's not nepotism, but pretty darn close with some of the names that are going to be presented here tonight. And that's unfortunate. And it's legal, but I don't know that that makes it right. I have buyer's remorse, okay? So I voted for some of you up here. But this frustrates me, and I shared that with a board member that could have changed that on here, who said that they agreed with me, yet that change did not occur. I also kind of have some buyer's remorse because I believe some of the things, as I stood at the podium in the PAC presenting to some of you new board members to hear your plans. And I don't know any of you, I don't recall any of you that stood up and said, we're going to fire him first chance we get. I'm not here for Ty Mungle, okay? I wasn't here when it was Gary Connor and we had this same insanity of getting rid of somebody in January, moving to February, and I just wonder, what are we going to do to the next guy when you 4, 7, however many it be, somebody's frustrated with you.
You have 1 minute.
We have social media going crazy, and you're out, and the next kind of people are in, and we do the same thing. That cycle has to end. It has to stop. I want to believe that what I heard at that time was that we were going to be supportive of students. We were going to be supportive of teachers. We were going to be supportive of our community. And I'm not sure replacing multiple members of our administration in January is the right thing to do. I urge you, and it's not for Ty Mungle. It's not, hey, we need to keep Ty. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying we should get rid of him. I'm not saying we should keep him. But I'm telling you that for the sake of North Lawrence schools, it should not stop till the end of this school year. And look for your replacements. Look for your materials that you need to do to make an expert decision. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Logan.
And Kayla Hoffman.
Kayla Hoffman, Needmore, Indiana, in case you need to know that. I'm going to talk quick. 250 years ago, my sixth great-grandfather, Thomas White, immigrated to the North American colonies. Within 3 years of the move, Thomas found himself dumping copious amounts of tea over the side of a ship in Boston Harbor as an act of protest against the British. Joining with men like Paul Revere, John Hancock, and Samuel Adams, Thomas White injected himself into the fabric of American history, pledged his continued loyalty to the cause of the Revolution while he and his sons served under General George Washington. And as we all know, the Revolutionary War secured the independence of the United States from Britain. Thomas White is my sixth great-grandfather. Last week, Mrs. Hawkins stood here and noted her concern for the future of NLCS. She made a claim that as a history teacher, she regularly teaches students about moments in history where emotionally compromised people have made bad choices. Are not the same emotionally compromised people who are for one action equal to the same emotionally compromised people who are against it? Of course we're emotionally compromised. We've survived a pandemic. There have been lots of changes in our community and our schools. Mrs. Hawkins and others have indicated that they believe there's some sort of vendetta against Mr. Mungle. They believe that once he's out the door, we might stop being vocal. Or maybe that's just their wish. There are entire systems in place that need repaired. If releasing Mr. Mungle from his duties were the only solution, I would gladly put away my keyboard and resign my designated warrior status. Because I was bullied as a child and never wanted the spotlight on me. That remains the same today. I hate this. My goal is to elevate the voices of others, the voices of children with disabilities who have been mistreated by some of the very people in this room, the voices of anxious children who have been told they have to learn to deal with their anxiety better because they won't have the same kind of supports next year in middle school, the voices of children who literally have no voice, and their parents who cry out in desperation and anger at the realization that their child had been left alone multiple times with a man who was allowed to return to work before an investigation was complete for allegations of child molestation. The voices of staff members and former staff members who were promised protection and instead received betrayal. Voices of community members who have lost complete trust in their local school corporation because of an unwillingness to communicate openly and effectively, resulting in more questions than answers. NLCS has lost over 17% of students and well over 100 certified staff since 2019. If you are only afraid for your jobs or your children now, you've not been paying attention to the vast amounts of fabulous teachers and children who have left NLCS under Mr. Mungle. The administration made false claims to the Department of Education. On November 29th, a 4-year-old left the Playful Pathways campus through a breach in the fencing because of a gate that had not been installed. While an emergency call was made upon learning the child was not present in the building, this 4-year-old traveled on foot 0.7 of a mile down 5th Street to IGA before a concerned citizen called 911 and reported seeing the child. Law enforcement was involved, and they returned the child to the school. Thank God the child was okay. Despite not being directly involved, Mungle did know about this happening, and yet he didn't inform the board of any of this until 6 days later. Instead of being forthcoming with the information and proactive about rectifying the situation, he chose not to address it with the board until he had no other choice. And there are other issues noted online under the inspection report. Mr. Mungle was not directly responsible, but he has taken a lot of pride and responsibility for the overall operations of the facility.
I'm sorry, you're at 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else to address the board? Oh, bring it up. Missy Collingsworth.
Hi. May I yield my time to Kayla?
Yes.
Kayla Hoffman, to finish my thoughts. He is certainly responsible for continuing the chain of command and reporting this incident to his employer in a timely manner. While I have strong opinions about many of these incidents, I also recognize that it means nothing if it is not rooted in fact, which others have mentioned. My aim is always facts, with the ultimate goal of making my community a better place to be for everyone. I'm not a history major, but I do know this much. Sometimes we don't know whether a change in leadership will turn out to be a positive or negative. We just have to trust in the process and exercise our right to vote based on the liberty that was secured for us so many years ago at the hands of men like Thomas White. 5,185 citizens exercised that liberty for change in NLCS on November 8th. It turns out that those of us who had been labeled as a silent minority were in fact a voting majority. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wants to yield time who didn't get to finish? To be fair. Okay. Any board members have any comments on the public section? I would just say to Logan, to your point about the agenda, this is drafted by our attorney, and I do agree with you that is a problem. But these were drafted with legal counsel. It wasn't us trying to be opaque. Yes,
When we spoke about that, you said you were gonna try to.
not for this meeting.
But it was wrong in the future. This is the future from when we spoke.
Okay, this agenda was already published. This agenda was already published to the public, so I was not thinking about this agenda, but I wanted to be clear that I will address that. Okay. All right. Moving on to letter D, item 1, consideration of the NLCS superintendent's contract. So we have in front of us a separation agreement and mutual release that Dr. Mungle has agreed to utilize the buyout clause in his contract, and I would entertain a motion for that, to accept it. Sorry, so
moved.
Scott King makes a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Parsley makes a second. Any discussion on the motion?
Yeah, I'd like to say a few words. During the campaign, of course, you know, a lot of people running, a lot of things going down on social media, and there's a lot of data that was put out there. And of course, you know, I did a great job of assimilating that data, and it had key indicators. And I think that drove me, you know, to look further into what was going on. Did a lot of research, a lot of investigation. I spent a lot of time talking to members of the community and teachers. And fortunately, I was elected to this position. And my research, my data, my talking to people didn't stop November 8th and start again January 5th. I spent that time to continue to look at issues and talk to people. Within the first day I filed for school board in late August, up to even last night at 8 o'clock, I've spoken to scores of teachers, dozens of community members, and I spent time to make sure I could validate and verify every accusation. I make sure I had multiple sources to back that up. So I just wanted to say that, you know, I didn't stop on the 8th and then start on the 5th. I've been concerned about these issues ever since last February. So I don't want you to confuse my passion and being focused for this community as it being emotional. Because passion drives you and emotion controls you. And I'm passionate about what I'm doing. This decision I make tonight will not be an emotional one.
Any other discussion? Okay. And then with that, then we will vote. And again, the motion is to accept the separation agreement mutual release for Dr. Mungle. All those in favor, please say aye and raise your hand. Aye. And all those opposed?
Nay.
Okay, so we have 5 yeas, 2 nays. The motion carries. And
I guess I had my time. I'm just gonna say.
Go ahead.
I didn't vote no. I'm not a pro tie. I'm not a con tie. I'm a pro process. I'm a pro transparency. That was the rationale behind my decision. Again, it's been 1 week, and as someone brought up, I was on the board 4 years ago. Same situation. New board came in, elected themselves officers, immediately got rid of that superintendent, got an interim, Dr. Mungle, and is the exact same thing, and it all happened very quickly. That was the problem, I guess, that I had with consolidation. New things needed to happen. It's the process. It's the time. It's the speed at which it happened. And it's the same thing here. There could have been alternate ways of doing this. I think everyone was at the conclusion that, Dr. Mungle included, that his time was up. And it could have saved, if this process had slowed down a little bit, it could have saved our corporation a lot of money. So we never really get a chance to say why we vote a certain way, and that's why I voted that way.
Does anybody else want?
I'll comment on the timing and what seems like a rapid pace. Kayla's not entirely right when she said we've lost 17.6%. We've actually lost 21.6% since 2019. That's 1,007 students. The money follows the students. And those are revenues that we have lost. If that averages about 250 students a year, those are revenues that are going outside of this corporation. Our population decline is only in the 2% range per decade. We are not losing people very much. We are losing students. So coupled with considerable trust issues, I do not believe there's anything to be gained in kicking this can down the road and delaying any more than we have to. I believe that time is of the essence. We've got 8th graders signing up for high school today. We've got 8th graders out of our corporation, our community, our land mass, that are signing up for Eastern Green, that are signing up for Mitchell, that are signing up for other corporations other than us, and we continue to lose them. So you can talk about the wasted money, or you can talk about a buyout being unused taxpayer dollars not put to good use. But if you use anywhere from $6,000 to $9,000 per child, then you're going to see a huge revenue loss if our rate of loss of students continues. That's all I'll say.
Anybody else? I'll say just a brief on my vote. I've been here 2 years. I know I haven't been on the board longer than as long as other people, and I have learned a lot from fellow board members, even that don't always agree with me, and I have. And I also understand and recognize that for the teachers, for the parents, for the community who see this as, oh, here we go again, I get that, and I'm not saying that it's great. I hate that we're here. I know a lot of people think I'm celebrating this. I'm not. It is a dark, dark time in our community, and I wish that we weren't here. But when I make a decision, if I have my most important facet of making a decision on this board is that this is an organization that is children-centric. It is for children who grow up to be adults and run our society. And if the choice is having leadership in place that I believe is leadership, if the most important thing is that we have leadership in place that is ethical and that is a wonderful example for our kids. That to me, and is transparent and honest, that is above everything for me. And I will take a little bit of chaos, and maybe not even a little bit, a lot of chaos, in order to, it's like if you find out you have cancer, you don't wait, right? You get it out. And I shouldn't have used that term because I don't want to disparage Dr. Mungle. That's not why I'm here. I don't want to do that. I don't want to blame him. I don't want to talk about that. But that is why I'm making this decision now, because I think it's an emergency. So that's my vote. Okay, on to item 2, consideration of the assistant superintendent's contract. I would first entertain a motion to place Mr. Tanner on paid admin leave.
So moved.
Have a motion? Sorry.
Needs to be retroactive to.
Retroactive to the 10th of January. Thank you.
So moved.
Okay, so we have a motion from Mr. Parsley, and Barb Miller made the second. Any discussion on this motion? Okay, the motion again on the table is to retroactively approve the paid administrative leave for Mr. Tanner. Let's vote. All those in favor, please say aye and raise your hand. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay and raise your hand. So was that 5? Okay, 5-2, that motion carries.
Now that really just opens some doors for us. Gives us an opportunity, doesn't it? I mean, we didn't.
We have another motion coming.
No, we have another motion. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the second motion that I would entertain related to that item would be to grant me as board president the authority to start the cancellation process on Mr. Tanner's contract. So I would entertain a motion for that.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second that. I'll second it.
Okay. Any discussion on this motion? Okay. All those in favor of the motion, which is to grant me authority to start, as president, to start the cancellation proceedings of Mr. Tanner's contract, please signify by saying aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay and raise your hand.
Nay.
Okay, so 5-2, so that motion carries. All right. And then I would take a motion on the appointment of an interim chief of staff and director of human resources.
I would make a motion that we table that.
Okay,
I'll second it.
okay. Sorry, did you second, Barb?
Yes.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay, so the motion on the floor is to table letter D, number 3, which is appointment of interim chief of staff, director of human resources. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Please say nay. Okay, 7-0, that carries. And now to appointment of a temporary NLCS superintendent. I would entertain a motion that we appoint Mr. Steve Underwood as a temporary NLCS superintendent. I would take a motion.
And approve the contract.
And approve the associated contract. I would take a motion to that effect.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Second, so we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I would just like to say that Mr. Underwood most of you probably know him. He has been an administrator here for many years. He does have a lot of experience with safety in our corporation, and he was happy to fulfill this role for us as a service to us to get us through till we can have an interim superintendent. So, is there any further discussion?
We are required to have.
Yes, we are.
It is a requirement.
It is a legal requirement for us to have a superintendent. Thank you, Jim. Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye and raise your hand. Aye. Any opposed? No? Okay, so that passes 7-0. And then now to the appointment of an interim NLCS superintendent. I would entertain a motion to name Dr. Jim Halleck and to approve his contract as presented. You want to take the second?
Sure.
Okay, so Mr. Parsley makes the motion, Mr. King seconds. Any discussion on this motion?
I'd like to bring to the attention the qualifications of Dr. Jim Halleck, Compass Keynote Consulting. Dr. Halleck has over 40 years' experience in the education field. He served as superintendent twice at 2 different corporations with over 20 years in those 2 roles. He has served as a principal. He has served in more recent years as an interim superintendent for 7 schools since 2015. Dr. Halleck is highly respected in the Indiana education field. He has agreed to come on to help us with the strategic planning process, of course, with the interim superintendent duties, our strategic planning, as well as offered to help in the search for a permanent fill. Dr. Halleck is not interested in permanently filling the position for Lawrence County. Dr. Halleck's qualifications have been made available, I believe, to the press represented here tonight. His website is found by searching for Compass Keynote Consulting, Dr. James Halleck, Hallik. Thank you.
Any other further discussion on that?
Dr. Halleck cannot start till February 1st. That's why we're having an acting super until Dr. Halleck can be here.
Yeah, that's a good clarification. Thank you, Barb. I didn't say that.
Yeah.
So yes, so that's why.
Steve's here for a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Okay. Then we will vote. All those in favor of the motion of naming Dr. Halleck as interim superintendent and accepting his contract as provided, please signify by saying aye. Raise your hand. Aye. Okay, 7-0 then. That motion carries. And finally, I would entertain a motion to appoint Greg Pittman as attorney for the NLCS School Corporation and approval of the school attorney contract as presented. So we have a motion.
I'll second it.
All right. Any discussion on this motion?
I will explain my abbreviation of the time frame in the first meeting on January the 5th. It's unfortunate that new board members in some capacity are asked to do some of the critical business, and I had some questions of Mr. Pittman's arrangements with the board. I had some questions around certain issues that Mr. Pittman and the board met in executive session afterwards to further flesh those out until about 10 o'clock that night. And I'm very satisfied with Mr. Pittman's answers and the arrangements that we have. So I appreciate Mr. Pittman and appreciate him continuing to serve with his experience in that capacity. So thank you.
And it is a one-year contract, just to specify. Okay, so any other discussion? All right, then we will vote on the motion of appointing Greg Pittman as attorney for NLCS School Corporation and approval of his contract. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so that's 7-0, motion carries. So closing business, upcoming meetings, we do have a board meeting a week from tonight. That is executive session followed by a public session, I believe. Okay. Anything else from anyone? Okay. I would take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you.